Hello, and welcome to the Illinois Realtors Weekly Podcast, keeping you up to date with all the latest news in the realtor world. I'm Jeremy, and as you may have seen, Governor Pritzker recently delivered the State of the State address to the General Assembly on February 20th. Now, in this address, he actually specifically called out one of our main focuses for advocacy at Illinois Realtors, which is the need for more housing. And in case you missed it or you just don't want to watch the whole thing, here is a quick clip for you.
One of the biggest affordability challenges people are facing is housing. Amid the construction supply chain challenges of the last few years, along with higher interest rates, Illinois' housing inventory decreased more than the national average. That's got to change. Last year, I appointed a director of housing solutions and formed an advisory committee of housing experts. They proposed a slate of reforms to unlock new financing, attract capital, incentivize builders, and eliminate unnecessary barriers to housing construction. This year, I'm asking the General Assembly to put those recommendations to work so that we can make Illinois housing more affordable and economical.
So obviously, it was so great to see the governor call out the need for more housing in the State of the State address there. And so here to talk with us a little bit more today about the work we're doing with lawmakers to help those priorities move forward, especially with our legislative bills. It is our good old friend, the Vice President of State Governmental Affairs for your Illinois Realtors, Mr. Jim Clayton. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us here in the studio again.
Thanks for having me. And yes, for those that tuned into the governor's address, that you obviously heard him mention housing and how important that is going to be this year. And obviously that's always our focus. We live in that world, but we're very grateful that it's the focal point because it needs to be. And as he mentioned in his address, was the need for more inventory.
Absolutely. And of course, this is something that we've had our eye on as an organization for like years now.
Piggybacking off of that, we had some proposals in a housing package a few years ago that was a really, really big, ominous package that had a bunch of different components in it. And this year, most of our members know and are aware of our 5 bills we're putting forward together as our housing legislative package. And it's funny that what the governor mentioned about inventory and having more housing availability, 2 of our bills, the ones I'm going to talk about real quick, are actually really relevant to exactly what he said and is exactly what we need.
Yes. And of course, we announced all of these bills, I think a little over a week ago. But as you mentioned, we did want to call out 2 of the bills that are specifically going along with what the governor was talking about here in those comments. So why don't you walk us through those bills?
First is in accessory dwelling units, and that's House Bill 1709. It's a bill that we'll be supporting with Representative Cam Buckner, Leader Buckner, and the House Democrats. It basically says that a local unit of government can't prohibit, in any sense of the form, whether an ordinance or by regulation, the availability to build accessory dwelling units. They can regulate it based on size and location, but you cannot ban or prohibit the building of accessory dwelling units. This hopefully will allow, unique opportunities, and there's so many advantages to accessory dwelling units. What those are is a different single-family residence or different residence on a primary parcel or lot where there's already a primary residence. So on that parcel or lot, there's a single-family home with a detached garage. That garage you convert into either a single-family home or maybe a multi-unit dwelling. That's the accessory dwelling unit. And what that will do is not only increase inventory, it increases the availability, it increases property value. Senior family members can stay closer to home. It gives them that option. There's so many different advantages to accessory dwelling units. And I think it's time that, for example, you see in the city of Chicago, they have prohibited them for years. I think it's time that we have to look outside the box and start chipping away at some of these barriers that don't allow for housing inventory. And that is one of the big ones that we think is a simple fix right now, a solution we can go after and see what type of housing units we can not only create and bring more to the inventory, but what type of housing units we can increase property value with and see what type of homeowners can use their already existing property to not only benefit the housing inventory, but benefit their property value as well.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you in every possible way there. So what's the second one that we want to draw some attention to?
The other bill that would be piggybacking off of what the governor said and coming from a lot of the discussions for the last few years, but also through that ad hoc commission that the governor had that our CEO, Jeff Baker, was on, is House Bill 1814 by Leader Bob Rita. We're supporting that as well. And that is more of, if you look at sensible zoning. So most municipalities in Illinois have a minimum lot size. and of what that size has to be before it's not single-family zoning. What we're asking municipalities to do in this bill is lower that minimum lot size. Traditionally, you'll see 7,500 square feet. We're saying 5,000 or more. And that is going to be municipalities to over 10,000, and then those for over 25,000 in population. The difference is for those municipalities over 25,000 population, any new development on these lots, these parcels that are 5,000 square feet, any new development on there can no longer just be single-family zoning. You have to allow for different types of zoning that would constitute or classify as the missing middle housing that we have been screaming from the rooftops for years that we're missing so desperately. And that's cottage clusters, duplex, multifamily units up to 4 units. So we're looking for different ways to build more inventory in that as well, looking at traditional lots and traditional lot sizes that are traditionally single-family home and looking at lowering that lot size to allow more housing units go in there. The population of 10,000 or more, that same 5,000 requirement would be, but it's for duplexes. They can allow duplexes in those now as well.
So are you hearing any kind of grumblings about that bill specifically, the zoning bill specifically?
We think that we'll hear some pushback on people saying, well, will this eliminate single-family zoning? No. In no way would we ever be in favor of that, or in no way does this bill do that. By no means. What this bill does is it allows for a different type of zoning on a traditional lot size that hasn't allowed it before. And we think this would bring in, once again, more inventory, but different type of units and different type of housing, and bring in some more density into these areas.
And of course, we're bringing attention to these two bills right now, specifically because they speak directly to the need the governor was talking about, and because they're really kind of getting a lot of backing right now. These ones are kind of pushing themselves to the forward, right?
Those two bills are our main focus right now. They have a lot of momentum, and that's what our primary focus is going to be in the next coming weeks, just because of the movement those bills have gotten, the sponsorships those bills have gotten, and just, like I said, the overall momentum. The last 3 bills in our package that we can discuss further at a different time, it's not like those are falling by the wayside by any means. We're going to be working very hard to make sure that every component of our housing initiative this year works its way through the process and has a chance to become law. But right now, using the momentum, using the topic that's most relevant over there, 1709 ADUs and 1814, the sensible zoning, are what our primary focus will be in the next coming weeks.
All right. Well, Jimmy, once again, thank you so much for coming back onto the show and being here, and just for all of the tireless work that you do advocating for our members at the state capitol. I know that we appreciate it here in the building, and all of our members do too, because you keep us so informed. So by all means, please come back anytime.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to discuss the bills.
And of course, thank you, our listeners, for joining us on the latest episode of the Illinois Realtors Weekly Podcast. As always, give us a rating and a review on your podcast app of choice. And if you want any more content, simply search for Illinois Realtors on your favorite social media app. We will see you next week.